works. Perfect.
Okay,
thank you.
Perfect. I am not able to see the chat. Okay, I can see the chat. Okay, perfect. So thank you very much for your patience. I am really happy to be here. Thank you, Amanda, for that introduction. I want to, well, what we will be talking tonight is about how a superwoman debugs. So that's why the title of debugging, like Superwoman. She confronts bugs, and the more she confronts the bugs, the stronger she becomes. And okay, I want to share a little bit with you about myself, because I think that's important to understand where I came from. I am not an expert, but I also want to let you know that every day in my job, I've been helping all the bugs in their journey when they are learning front-end programming. So, okay, this is me. I am a digital creator. I am Pythonista at heart, and I also am a front-end coach at Laboratoria, which is an amazing Latin American organization that helps many women to get their first job as front-end developers. And we are also starting the bootcamp next year, where I will be teaching also around 50 women how to become front-end developers. I was also made in El Alto. El Alto is a city that is, I think, is the highest city in the world. We are about above 3,000 meters over the sea. And that's me. And I want also to share that everything that that is in these slides is open to code, open science, open education. You can use it, it's free to use. Just mention where did you learn it from. And a lot of the material that you will see here, it derives from Syntax Podcast, the Ladybug Podcast, and the Chrome Dev Docs. Okay, so welcome, future heroines, future superwoman. And please, I noticed that some of you have been introducing yourself in the chat. You can also leave your name, your location, what's your current role. Have you ever formally learned debugging as a concept? I learned debugging like in my way, in my journey being a developer, but it's not something that someone actually told me that was something I could learn. It was like more a transversal concept that came here. Hola, Carla. So also, if you can say hi in Spanish, hola. And yes, it's not formal debugging. Yes, I know, and it's something really important that can make us better developers, can help us to solve issues and bugs so much easier. Okay, so what is going to be the goal of this talk? Well, if you come from front-end developer, back-end developer, any kind of developing, hola, ¿cómo están? You are going to be like, in this talk, I will be sharing with you the debugging mindset mostly, and some tools for JavaScript debugging. So, but it can be, I think, also mainly the mindset, the debugging mindset is something that you can use in other programming language as well. Okay, so I want to start sharing with you about this. There was a moment at the beginning of our careers when we start learning development that we were like this happy cat, just coding. Everything was fun. Everything was amazing. We felt like we can change the world with code. Until we face a bug, an error, a console log error or something, and it was like, okay, why? It's like this thing's not working. Why? You find a bug and you feel like everything is lost. All your hope is like, no, I cannot be a developer. I cannot become a developer, a great developer. It's like, no, the world is lost. It's not like that. But And it shouldn't be like that. It doesn't have to stop there. A bug cannot stop you from become a better programmer. So, and we can all go back to enjoy programming, to enjoy solving problems, and to enjoy just this world of technology. And okay, so if you want to grow, you should master debugging. We should master debugging. So that's why I want to I want to show you how to understand what actually debugging is. Maybe for some of you, it's like the first time you are hearing about this concept. Maybe you have heard about the concept of debugging, but you feel like, where was that? I think I have heard that, but I have never paid attention. My editor, my code editor says debug, but I have never actually used that button. What does it mean? And I want you to write in the chat also, what do you think it does mean for you? I will read there. It says, the cold, dark isolation of encountering a new console error message. Yes, that's something that happens. What do you think is debugging for yourself? Okay, so troubleshooting errors, finding errors before they happen, amazing. Lots of console logs, amazing. No shame for console logging, eh? AKA engineering, picking into values during code execution, finding the root cause of a failure, and an opportunity to challenge yourself and learn to code. Amazing, I love your definitions. I want to also share my own definition. Are these 3 words or 4 words? For me, debugging in this context of this talk is all about identify and remove. So it's not all about tools. It's all about how we identify them and how we do remove them. And okay, as I told you, I teach front-end development. So every day I find some bugs. My students come up to me with some bugs, and that's why I feel there maybe is a situation where you feel like this woman here, like, is thinking, what should I do? How do I solve better my bugs? How do I understand what is the real problem? What is the actual mindset that a superwoman has for debugging? And I want to share this, her debugging mindset and some important points of the debugging mindset of the superwoman. So first, when she finds a bug, she asks the right questions. And yes, I know, yeah, you probably are thinking about that. Well, how do I know that's the right question? Okay, you probably are not going to know what is the right question at the beginning of asking questions, but you should try to ask as many questions as possible in order to understand the context of the bug, how it happened, what, none of those things, in order to, like, the question of the question is going to give you the point, the route, like the way to the right question. Second, there is the stack trace, which is the one thing we are going to talk a lot about in this talk. Is read the stack trace. The stack trace is probably also something new, something that you will have used it, but you don't know that you have used it. You haven't called it a stack trace. Read the stack trace, and we should read the stack trace. Third one is set up a checklist of what should happen. Actually, it logic errors is like, okay, I remember one time a student came to me and she told me, I have this button, all the data from this API, and show them in this view. And it was like, and she told me, but this is not happening. And I don't know why the button is not working. And the first thing I asked her was, okay, what did you try? And she told me, nothing. And I was like, okay, so how can we solve the problem? We need to set up a checklist. Maybe we can say the first thing that we can check is the button is actually working. Maybe the second thing is I am doing the right request. The third thing is I am receiving the right data. If I am receiving the right data, then maybe I need to check I am showing the data. So those are like probably 4 steps I have set up. Maybe there are more steps doing an API request, but that checklist has by where the actual problem, the error, the bug is happening. Also, this other tip that is part of the Superwoman mindset is she also understands that isolating the problem is important, because if you identify the other factors, environment factors, the setup, everything that can be like, if you have a lot of factors that are involved in your problem, probably you need to understand which are not going to be part of your process, because if you have so many variables, you're not going to understand which of them is really actually making that problem to happen. So try to make a small experiment, isolate the problem, try to do this like as small, as simple as possible to understand what is the problem. And also, one last thing, document how to solve the problem, because a bug probably is going to be repeated. And probably you are going to find again the same bug. You're probably going to be, okay, I think I have seen this. Should I learn again how to solve this problem? Or have I already solved this problem in the past and I can solve it again, just reading what I have done before? Okay, so now we have this mindset. Ask the right questions, read the stack trace, set up a checklist of what should happen, isolate the problem, and document how to solve that problem, right? So let's use this mindset. Here's, and I have brought you 2 situations. The first one is, the number 1 situation is the one that we already talked about, is my button doesn't work. So remember that day when you went to the office, it was a Monday, and your program manager told you, hey, we have a bug. That button is not working. And okay, so we can use what was the mindset of the Superwoman. So the first thing she said is, ask the right question. What can be the right question? What is the button supposed to do? Because they didn't tell me. It's like a button is not working. What it is supposed to do? Okay, maybe the button has to show a message, pop up a message. Then another question that could be important here is that, where is that button? Is in the front page? Is in the products page? Where is it? And then we can also ask when the bug happened. Is always, all the time? Is something else we are doing? Are we logged? We are not logged? All of those things can help us to understand better the problem, what the real problem is. And after that, we can try to reproduce the bug. So we go to the website, we click the button, it's actually not working, it doesn't do anything. Okay. Second thing that Superwoman could do is read the stack trace. And I remember I told you I was going to share with you a lot about the stack trace. Okay. The first thing, how to open the trace. Right click in any web browser that you're using. It's Chrome, it's Firefox, Safari. Click right, and then click on inspect, and you're going to see something like this right tab where you have this other tabs, elements, console, source, network, all of them are really great, amazing to help you debugging. We're going to focus today on the console tab. So when you open the stack trace for this bug, for this situation, you find that big red letter to read them. We see many things. We see a learn more. It looks like, oh, why? We should read this. But there are important things in the stack trace. This is actually the stack trace, and we can see which parts are important. So first thing first, this is a syntax error. It says the type of error we are actually trying to solve. Syntax error actually can mean, okay, we have probably written something bad in the code. Something is not well written. It could be missing parentheses. It could be a semicolon, not in JavaScript. It could be an undefined value. But something in the syntax, something is not well written. Probably the most common thing is like mismatching parentheses, brackets, and curly braces. Okay, let's see a second part of this stack trace. It actually tells us that it's missing the curly brace, or this symbol, if I am not saying it well. This symbol, so we are missing this. Where is this missing? And probably we can see this. It says in which file, in which line. It says main.js at line 6. And it also has a detailed description of what this bug is all about. It says this curly brace after function body. You open it up at line 4 in the column 23. Okay, so let's now actually open the code. And we can spot red flag underlying above the semicolon. We also see the line 6 doesn't have anything, not anything written on. It also is true that our function brace in the line 4, and probably we know that it's missing a curly brace in the other side, so we can just correct this code by adding this curly brace in the line 6. And there is no more red flag in the semicolon. It looks all great in the editor, in the code editor. I think we probably have solved this bug. Yes, the element inspector, the second love of my life. We click the button, it's actually working. It shows the message. We solved it. Woohoo! We can celebrate. Let's introduce you a second situation. Node.js. So, situation number 2. When trying to run our Node.js application, the terminal shows a huge error. Oh, no, we are all scared. This is the terminal. It's a huge error, a lot of letters. So we already know that the terminal shows an error when we're trying to run the Node.js application. It's more descriptive, this the way they presented this bug. So let's read that error. We read the stack trace again. In this time, we're going to read that in the terminal when we are trying to execute the program, and we see this lot of long lines that scare us. I do mental touchdown dance every time I solve something. Oh, amazing. Okay, so this looks like bigger, huge, a lot of red things. Like what we should do here. Let's try to also understand the parts of this log message. First things first, we can ignore the errors that we are not the owners. For example, module.js is something that we haven't written, probably is something that belongs to Node. It says even the lines where it says the error, 550, we haven't written also neither 500 lines. Probably it's not where the error is. It's not, and we can safely ignore those errors that don't belong to us. Okay, so now it's the half of the size, our stack trace. So let's see what else can we identify here. How we can, I strongly recommend you to read this from top to down. Because that's going to help, because the first thing is going to show you, okay, the most important things, and then also here is going to show you how these lines were executed, like the line at line 9 in this file was executed this function, and then at line 6 was executed this function. So it's like the stack trace is the, this was the last thing called, but this was the thing that called the last thing, and then this thing, and that's like all the functions in one stack. The one that calls the other function, and the function that calls the other function, and it goes from top to down. Okay. There is another thing here that we can recognize that is also a type of error, similar to the console in the browser. The type of the error in this case shows us that this is a reference error. A reference error means that maybe something is not defined. And also here in the right side, you can see it says not defined, it's not defined. So don't be scared about reading this log message. Then we also have first, the top of the stack trace is the last function where the error happened. So this is the line 9. It says at the line 9 at column 3 there is an error. So you see that indicates the final error was caught on line 9 of the file stack trace at column 3. Okay. That's the entry point. That's where we can look at what is the file, what is the error, what's the type of the error. So now we can look to the code and let's see how it looks like. Okay, it has not many lines. It has functions that calls another function, a B function that calls a C function, the C function that calls a not defined function, and finally we call the A function. And that's the bug. Okay. Yes, you already guessed it right. The not defined function is called. It also said in the console that it was not defined. It's a function that we should define if we want to correct this mistake. And that's it. We have solved our second situation, and that's amazing. Congrats, you are really good at doing this. Sally, Dominica, amazing. Also, okay, a recap. There are some things I would like to go further on this. First of all, remember the debugger mindset. Ask the right questions. Don't forget, and don't feel like you are stupid for asking questions or dumb. That's not true. Probably you ask the questions that somebody else doesn't want to ask, and that's okay. That's you're making the difference and you're helping others. So ask even the dumb questions. Then read the stack trace. The stack trace is not as scary as it looks like, and probably you will save a ton of time because it has already the answer. Also set up a checklist of what should happen. And I think that we haven't seen this today, but it's really important, as I told you at the beginning, to have the step-by-step what your code should be doing written down and check. This is happening? Yes. This is happening? Yes. And lastly, that we also haven't showed here is document how to solve the bug. I think it's really important. It's something I am trying to do more often. It's also something I am failing a lot, but I think, and I am really proud the times I helped to document, because that was the first time I actually contributed to open source. At Hugo, for example, in the Hugo documentation, I was like, okay, you can better install this and you will find a book with Debian. And that was one of my first contributions in open source. And a lot of contributions to open source in documentations are really, really helpful. The maintenance will thank you a lot, and you will really help other people that will find the same book that you find, and maybe you will find your same documentation in the future. Okay. thanks for the kind things. Last thing. One last thing. Books are opportunities to learn and grow. Really, the bigger, the scariest the book is, the easier that the easier that you're going to learn. You're going to grow a lot. As big as your book you are confronted, you are messed up, that big you're going to grow. How do you say this? Like, embrace the bugs. Thanks. You can contact me, continue the conversation at LukeMai at Twitter. And if you have questions now, I am here, as Amanda says. Feel free to drop in the chat. I will
you have any questions? If you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. If you have a question that you want to ask directly, I can bring you up onto the screen and you can ask her in person. So just let me know. This session's going for probably another 5 minutes or so. And let's see if there are any questions. So there is one. It says, let's see, I like to break things to find bugs, usually overdoing it, like the red border radius and font size. It talks about, it doesn't work. Any recommendations to stop using the console?
Yes. First, I want to clarify that don't be ashamed of you using console log. It's not bad. Sometimes 90% of the cases, it's really easier to do that. And it's going to help you, and it's going to help you to solve the problem. So don't be worried about that. You can use console log. Use the curly braces, because that can become your variable in an object, and also you have the name of the property. So I will write that in the chat, console.log, variable, like that. And that's a better way to still using console log, but at least have some context of which variable did I console log. Yeah, that's it.
Okay. There's another question. How did you get the Node.js stuff into the terminal?
Okay. Okay. First thing, I installed Node.js, like Python. I don't know. You install Node.js or with from the website, and then you open in the terminal and you write out Node.js and the name of your JavaScript file. So it's, you just open the terminal and Node script.js, and it's going to run whatever your script is doing. You can start doing a console log.
Great. Another question, do you have any debugging tools that you like to use in code editors?
Yes, of course. I love a lot the debugging tools that come with Visual Studio Code. They are a little bit harder to set up. But if you can set up them, they are really good. If you don't want to do that, you can actually use this keyword called debugger inside your JavaScript file, and that's going to stop your code, and that's going to give you like a kind of debugging tools, and that's going to give you this breakout points where you can put at the breakout points and check better what functions you're calling, what is the state of your variables, and that's going to be really helpful. Yeah, but Visual Studio Code is my favorite one. So it comes with a handy, nice debugger.
Okay, which coding language is most challenging to debug?
I think, okay, I'm trying to think which. Okay, there are many situations where it comes to my mind from debugging. That there are languages I don't like, but I will not name them. But there's, as I am a front-end developer, I think I have been a lot with JavaScript, with CSS. And between both CSS and JavaScript, I find really challenging debugging CSS. It's like my weak point. Like, no, how this should show this, it doesn't know. The border, actually, the border radio, so solid border, that helps me to understand better the box concept. So I can debug better my CSS, but I'm still learning about doing that better.
I'm not sure this is right. Do you have a license set up in VS Code?
I use Slint, and that helps me, and I set up the Slint with Airbnb, the styles that Airbnb gives me. And also we have in the bootcamp, all the students are required to use Slint and to go to set up that. But at the beginning, they have like some pre-configured files in the first projects, and then at the end they have to do it by themselves. So like using it and then setting up that. And if you want to see the projects that we do in the bootcamp, they are all open source. You can go to Laboratoria, that's, and you have bootcamp /bootcamp, and those are all the projects. So and I think that's it.
Great. I don't see any more, but if anybody has any more questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. We have a few more minutes. And then as we're waiting to see if any more questions come up, I just want to thank you again for joining us and sharing your knowledge. Everybody's very enthusiastic about what they've learned here today. So thank you, Lupe.
Thank you, Amanda. It was really nice to be here and to share with all of you this and still a lot of room to improve. So I would be happy to receive feedback in my Twitter, and DMs are open. You can always chat with me. And thanks.
Great. Yes, and just a reminder that all the sessions of Connect Forward are recorded, and they will show up on the Women Who Code channel on YouTube. So please, it won't happen tomorrow, but it will happen over the next couple of days, and everything should be loaded back up. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for attending this session, and then we are doing our final closeout at the stage at 11. So thank you so much. And Lupe, if you'd like to stay for a few more minutes, that's fine. However you'd like to do that.
Okay,
but thank you again.
So I other sessions, but it was nice to chat with you. I will be open to chat these days. Tomorrow also there is a lot of chatting, so maybe we'll see tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Yes, great. Sounds wonderful. Thank you so much.